In the Hour of Heaven's Judgment, Wake Up and Be Vegan Now, Part 2 of 8, on Between Master and Disciples, held in English.
Under Stalin, they controlled the peasants, the farming. They did not let the people have anything more than what Russia ruled.
Yes.
So many of the people did not have enough food to eat. And Russia sent their police or brigade special units to always go into Ukraine to take their things. And they went into their homes all the time, different houses, and took out the food stuff, if they thought it was too much food for that family.
Yes, Master.
And even then, even at that time, if somebody supposedly have more food than they were supposed to, according to Russian law at that time, then they were committing a crime.
Oh.
And then the farmers, the peasants who are hungry and maybe keep some food, even hiding it. The Russians would take it out and they would even kill them. Yeah. They kill him by firing squad for stealing or keeping, hiding even just a sack of wheat.
Oh my gosh.
They call it stealing from the state.
Yes, Master.
So it's because of hunger. The rural population at that time never had sufficient food to feed themselves. Imagine that.
Yes, Master.
So, of course, according to that situation, starvation was massive, was huge in 1933.
So tragic.
Yeah. But even then, Moscow at that time did not provide any extra relief for the famine, for the starvation at that time. And at the same time, the Soviet Union exported more than 1 million tons of grain to other countries, to the West, while their own people starved in Ukraine.
Oh, God.
Their food became the state food.
Yes.
It was stored in any silos, and it became state-owned property.
Right.
Well, Russia has long sought to determine the destiny of Ukraine. Under Soviet communism, as many as 4 million died of hunger when Moscow forced people from small holdings to disastrously inefficient collective farms. The bitterness remains to this day.
As the Kremlin's choirs praised Stalin, the world was told of a happy land.
And today it is above all the granary of Eastern Europe, with the black earth bringing forth millions of acres of wheat.
But 95-year-old Petro Mohelat knows what a lie that was. Forced collectivization of farms brought starvation and terror to his family.
It was very scary. There was a brigade with pitchforks who came to every house searching for bread. I was 5 at that time. We locked the door and all the windows, but they used crowbars to come inside. And then they went to all the barns trying to find any buried bread.
Food was seized to punish peasants who resisted collectivization. It's thought up to 4 million people died in what Ukraine calls the Holodomor, killing through hunger. Russia denies the famine was a deliberate attempt to break the independent spirit of Ukrainians. Alexandra Zaharova, aged 98, remembers the corpses of the starved.
What could I see? I saw people who died. They made a big pit and threw all the bodies there. My father went to Western Ukraine, taking everything good from our home to exchange for food. But he got nothing. You can say I had a life, but it was no life.
Near the family home, there's a mass grave from the famine era. It's also an important part of modern Ukraine's story of origin. This idea of a nation in the 1930s suffering the oppression of a dictatorship based in Moscow. This old steel door here.
Yeah.
Ukrainians who resisted ended up in places like this.
Some historians say 5,000 or 10,000 people was killed here in this basement.
Interrogation cells of the secret police in Kiev.
Was here.
It's just impossible to imagine what went through people's minds as they came through that door into this place.
Yeah, pain.
Investigation of Stalin's crimes has been suppressed in Russia.
They protect Stalin, they hide truth, they attack us, they don't recognize us like independent country. Why? We don't understand why.
The farmers produced food and the state took it more and gave them only very little, not enough. If they took a little bit more, then they'd be shot dead by firing squad. Even just one bag of wheat.
Yes,
Yes. Horrendous.
That's shocking.
Yeah. So everywhere Russia went, all these decades, it's just starvation, destruction, demolition, and murdering people in different types of ways. Either shooting them or just starving them to death.
So bad. Terrible.
Yeah, and everywhere is like devastated.
Yes.
And that's how they conquer many other countries. They even say that people who take food like that, they call them terrorists.
Oh,
Yes.
Food terrorists.
Wow.
Oh.
They say food terrorism must be stopped. So 5 million people die at least.
Mm.
And most of those were Ukrainian people.
So evil.
Yeah, yeah. And Russia, since decades already, brought a lot of Russian people into Ukraine to make it more Russian and easier to control.
Oh,
Yes, Master. Yes, Master.
Then they wanted to Russianize all the Ukrainians and delete their identity at that time.
Yes, Master.
So if Europe or NATO wants that to happen again, then they would just stand by doing nothing and wait until that happens. And if Ukraine is lost, the whole Europe will be lost sooner or later.
Yes, Master. That's right.
Oh man, oh man. And now you can see starvation already has begun in many countries in the world already due to Russia's war in Ukraine because they cannot export all this grain that they have.
That's right.
And it will stand there and get rotten if it cannot go out to other countries.
Yes.
Yes.
And Russia already stole their grain and sold it elsewhere. And then, of course, with those under Russian occupation or Russia-backed separatists, all this farm produce will go away, exported by Russia elsewhere.
Yes, Master. Right.
So it's already begun. The starvation of the world now, not just of Ukraine like last time.
Yes, Master.
Український аграрний експорт виконує стабілізуючу роль на глобальному ринку. І Росія має відповісти за те, що провокує проти Європи нову міграційну хвилю, використовуючи мешканців і Африки, і Азії, просто як заручник.
This is nothing but an ordinary blackmail, because without the export of the Ukrainian food, hundreds of millions of people are in danger of starvation.
Due to the war in Ukraine, the number of people suffering from hunger across the world could rise to 323 million. This was stated by David Beasley, Executive Director of the UN World Food Programme.
Russia's invasion of its neighbor has effectively ended its food exports.
The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, said that as of the 21st of May, Russia had blocked 22 million tons of food in Ukrainian ports, gradually stealing it, taking it out, and trying to sell it.
Here is a Ukrainian car standing in Jankoy and being reloaded into a Russian car. This is how the product gets into the Russian Federation.
Ukraine is the fourth largest producer of grain in the world. Prices of cereal products are soaring. Experts are anticipating the worst food crisis in the world. Within 2 or 3 months, as experts predict, the countries of North Africa and the Middle East will run out of grain stock. In the meantime, the stolen Ukrainian grain goes to Syria. Egypt and Lebanon have rejected such deliveries.
It's like a global Holodomor famine.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So everywhere Russia went up to now, it's like that. Oh, my God. They don't have any souls, these leaders of Russia. I mean, these wicked leaders. Some Russian leaders were probably good before.
Yes, Master.
But up to now, I mean, since communism took over Russia, everywhere they went is all bloody.
Yes, yes.
Blood everywhere, blood and destruction. Even like Berlin, after the war, Germany became separated into West and East Berlin. And West Berlin continued to prosper and progress and repair all the war-damaged cities, but East Berlin, no. It was short of many things, and Russia did not help much. They weren't short of toilet paper even. They weren't queuing for it.
Wow.
I was in Berlin, in East Berlin. I went there with some friends. They invited me. So I went with them to East Berlin. And it looked so miserable to me. I felt very miserable. I felt they were miserable.
Wow.
And the guards and the police and all that, their faces were like stone. You don't feel a human connection with them. It's kind of scary. I did not want to go there anymore after that. But the private people, the people that my friends knew, they are nice. It's just that the energy, the atmosphere was not so nice. Many ruined buildings or some even important buildings were so ruined and not repaired.
Yes. Yes.
Many houses were like half broken or dilapidated. Looked very ruined from outside.
Yes.
The walls and all that were not all nice and all bright like West Berlin and West Germany.
Yes, Master.
And the standard of living there was not good compared to the West Germany that I knew.
Yes, Master.
And so Russia seems to want to divide Ukraine to become like that also. Like East Ukraine and West Ukraine or South Ukraine, North Ukraine.
Yes, Master.
Unless Europe wants to stand by and wait for that to happen, or NATO is making all kinds of lousy excuses to watch Ukrainians suffer, then they don't have to do anything. And wait until Ukraine is lost.
Yes, Master.
I'm worried about Europe, not just Ukraine. That's why I say NATO has to come in with force to flush Russian soldiers out, because they don't belong there. They don't belong in Europe.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I would go to farms a lot with my mom when I was younger to look at the animals, chickens and pigs, and I began to realize that I was eating those same farm animals I loved to go to feed and to be around all the time. Leona Louise, vegan.